Hello, and welcome to the Folklore and Fiction Podcast. My name is Kelly MacCath-Moran. I'm a PhD candidate in the Folklore Department at Memorial University of Newfoundland, and I'm also a speculative fiction writer under the pseudonym C.S. MacCath. The Folklore and Fiction Podcast and Dispatch synthesize these passions, with a focus on folklore scholarship aimed at storytellers. You'll find the Folklore and Fiction archive along with the rest of my work online at folkloreandfiction.com. Interested listeners will find a link to the current dispatch in the show notes, where a more comprehensive record of this episode can be found, including a bibliography and other references. This episode of the Folklore and Fiction Podcast was first published as a newsletter in June 2020. I'm recording it as a supplemental podcast now so that new listeners and subscribers have an opportunity to engage with the material. At the summer and winter solstices, I mimic the sun and pause to reflect on my own creative work. In this edition, I'm discussing representation issues in fiction with a passage from my short story, D is for Duel, One Who Dies as a God Dies, which was published in the D is for Dinosaur anthology. An excerpt from D is for Duel, One Who Dies as a God Dies. Please note, the excerpt depicts the ritual sacrifice of a person. Jaguar knights bring a simple, untainted breakfast she cannot stomach, and escort her by shuttle to the heart of the city-state. Draped across the tiny planet like a vault of the underworld, New Tenochtitlan is proud in its temples, industrious in its streets, quiet in its flowery gardens. As with its predecessor, it is divided into quarters that evoke Quetzalcoatl's house of worship, the gold abode of the east and its shining stairs, the turquoise abode of the west and its space-time gate, the silver abode of the south and its verdant miles of farmland, the red shell abode of the north, where the keeper makes men and women into warrior chimeras. At the center of it all rises the great temple, where heartless bodies are cast from the summit day and night, so many the stones are forever stained with their blood. At the top of that temple, 4 priests in feather headdress pin the limbs of a Gaian warrior to a rough-hewn altar. He is naked, and his poisonous vines have been pruned. The wounds ooze chlorophyll. He is screaming when Alejandra arrives, eyes bulging, chest open as a cave. New Tenochtitlan's speaker towers above him, green heart beating in one hand, thick obsidian knife in the other. The scream fades. The heart stops. The warrior's body is hauled forward and cast down the stairs. Alejandra clutches the buttons of her blue cotton frock and watches him tumble, lifts her gaze to the speaker's hands. He comes to her sweating from exertion, animated as if he has just received some necessary drug. A priest hurries to his side with a broad bowl in both arms, heavy with green hearts. The speaker lays the last of them atop the others. They travel with Huitzilopochtli now. He faces the midday sun, turns a shoulder into the light. His hummingbird cloak shimmers with color. The 4 priests on the temple's summit stretch their lips into savage smiles. Alejandra sees this, frowns, pokes him in the side with her cane. You don't believe that any more than I do. It's just a folk tale, and you're just a pomposo fraud with too many machines. If they all disappeared, would you fall over dead? I think so. The speaker bares his teeth, exhales in a slow release of sudden fury. Myth has power, and ritual is a performance art. Dead-eyed calm falls over his face. Let us agree upon terms, little dinosaur. My name is Senora Yeoto. Just so. This episode of the Folklore and Fiction Podcast is a preview, and you can listen to the full episode on the Folklore and Fiction website. Just click on the dispatch link in the show notes or go to folkloreandfiction.com and sign up for a free account. Thanks very much for your interest. Copyright 2019 to 2023. Kelly S. MacCath-Moran. All rights reserved unless Creative Commons licensing is specifically applied.